Hello, everyone. I want to welcome everyone to our first episode of our new podcast series we are launching. My name is Jung. I am co-founder and president of Procon Consulting. We specialize in providing construction management and program management solutions, headquartered just outside of Washington, D.C., in Arlington, Virginia. We are a small business, just about 135 employees spread across the U.S. We've been doing a lot of thinking as a company over the last several years, as many of the companies have been, and thinking about how we can leverage the variety of communication platforms and technologies that are available to us at our fingertip and really be an advocate for our industry and to be able to communicate and collaborate with the different industry individuals and listeners. And so we hope that we provide relevant and fresh content for you. We're going to be covering topics like technology solutions, some of the different interesting things that we're working on, BIM technology, augmented reality, digital twin. We're going to be talking about career advice, people that may be interested in switching from a general contracting field or maybe an architect field, and what is construction management field like. We're going to be talking about things that are in the federal government. We have many people that I talk to all the time that are interested in how do you navigate through the construction management in the federal market or maybe a state and local market. And I feel like that there's a lot of lessons learned that I could give. And obviously, I would like to hear from you, the listeners out there that may have gotten some good advice that you can share. And we want to share and utilize this platform to really communicate to the larger audience in our industry and to really interact. And so we hope that you are excited about this, and we hope that we provide value to and content. And so without further ado, let me get started with our very first guest on the show here, Steve DeVito. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thanks so much, Q. I'm excited to be here. And I started with Procon in 2012, and I have been helping clients to use technology to improve some of their processes related to design, construction, and operations of their buildings. So that has included things like helping them use building information modeling, virtual design and construction, GIS or geographic information systems, and digital twins in common data environments. So we're really excited to be able to help our clients to improve their building lifecycle management, and just happy to be here. Thank you.
And we can spend hours, obviously, on all the topics that you talked about. Today, specifically, though, we want to talk about this 360 progress monitoring. To start this off by just giving the audience just a general explanation of what is this 360 progress monitoring?
Yes, so 360 progress monitoring is a technology that allows the imaging of a construction site or an existing building or an existing built environment. It's very much like Google Street View, which you may be familiar with, where you can click on a picture and then you can click and drag and look in any direction in 360 degrees from where you're standing. This type of technology has been used recently by us over the last 3 or 4 years to help us to accurately capture the site conditions of a construction site as it's being built over time. And this has always been something a construction management firm like ourselves does. We always take pictures, we always have inspection reports, but it's always hard to understand where the picture is being taken from up until this point. So this technology is really helping everyone understand what is really happening on the site. It allows folks who are not at the site to be able to log in and click through the drawing of the site and see what's happening at any given time. So it's a construction progress monitoring tool that's greatly enhanced our ability to oversee the construction process.
And that's a great segue into perhaps even just providing a nugget of information about why this progress monitoring is so important and what type of value is it creating for construction project managers, owners, and general contractors, and all the people that are involved.
I think that the main benefit of this technology is that it is illuminating the realities that are on the job site. Typically in our industry, the one area that we don't have that much viewability into is exactly what's happening on the job site. If you want to know that, you typically have to travel to the job site and walk through the job site. What this technology allows everyone on the project team to do is see that remotely at any time. And so it's really an illumination of what the reality is happening on a job site, which is the main benefit of the technology.
I know that you and I have talked about this many times, but many people that I come across when we talk about this, they think that this is very complicated and just out there. I wonder if you can just speak a little bit to the audience here about perhaps what the actual technology is and how it is that we implement this on some of our projects.
Yes, that's a great point, Q. A lot of times there's a reluctance to try to implement a new technology because it is so difficult to roll out, to train folks and to get them up and running. This technology is extremely easy to use. It's extremely easy to implement. And for example, we've used the technology now on about 50 or 60 projects. We have trained everyone from the folks who are about to retire next year to the folks who are just graduating out of school, and this is their first construction job ever. And what we find typically is that a training is a 20-minute long endeavor. Helping someone to learn how to use the camera, again, it's 10 to 30 minutes long. And it's a very easy technology to use and it's intuitive. So the adoption rate we've seen with this technology is extremely high compared to other technologies which are more complex. So that is probably one of the greatest aspects of what we're finding in this tool set.
And I know that this has been a lifelong passion for me. In 1998, I went ahead and was studying the use of mobile computing and remote inspection services down in Blacksburg at my alma mater, Virginia Tech. I wonder if you can discuss, fast forward 20 some years here during the height of the pandemic, we were contacted by a very important client of ours, the General Services Administration. I wonder if you can speak to what we did there and how important this tool was to the General Services Administration.
Well, at the beginning of the pandemic, as lockdown was happening, a lot of the job sites were being shut down to everyone except for the general contractor who was building. And the General Services Administration, they employ construction managers such as ourselves to oversee and inspect jobs. And they also themselves will go to the jobs to make sure that things are being built according to plan. However, at the shutdown, the only entity allowed on the site was the general contractor and the construction manager. And so the GSA themselves had no visibility into progress. The GSA was mainly concerned with the processing of pay applications. So typically during construction, as I think many of us know, every month you'll have an invoice saying that 30% of the drywall was installed, or 60% of the fire and life safety systems were installed, and someone at the GSA needs to approve that invoice or deny the invoice. And so essentially this technology served that need to be able to remotely oversee and process pay applications. That was their immediate need.
And what was interesting about this particular project, maybe you can give us a little more texture to, was that we started the project with just about 10, give or take, projects that they wanted us to initiate. And it kind of grew to multiple projects. I wonder if you can talk a little bit about the scalability of this technology and how easy it was for us to scale this at a much greater level for a customer that owns so many different projects and buildings across the country.
They did ask for initially in the base phase of this pilot, only 10 projects. And what we found in the GSA and all of the teams found was that it was extremely beneficial and easy to use and implement. And so they opted to add more capacity to the pilot. And we ended up with over 35 projects across all 11 regions of the country. And the construction value total of all of these projects was 2.2 billion. And we found that it was a situation where we had a demand. So as project teams and the GSA learned about the technology, more and more of them wanted to be part of the pilot. And so we ended up with 1,200 users. Over 140,000 pictures were taken over 1.5 years, and it was a very scalable solution that was clearly of huge benefit. The return on investment was very significant, and so the GSA decided after this pilot to scale this to their entire portfolio of projects.
Wonder if you can share a little testimonial from any of our customers that we were implementing these solutions.
We had a lot of project managers and construction managers and subject matter experts who said that the ability to see the job site remotely drastically reduced their requirement to travel to the site. So whereas they would be there every week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, now they only needed to come to the job site once a month or twice a month. And the other times they could log in remotely and virtually inspect and walk through the job site. So that was the biggest single factor. There were other factors in play where, for example, inspections that were planned to be on-site fire and life safety inspections, these were things that with one project in particular I'm thinking of, they had planned to do an inspection of 5 floors where they would do 1 floor every 2 days. They practiced in the tool remotely and understood the job site realities. They understood how to access and enter a floor and get through to the next floor, et cetera. And what ended up happening was they were able to complete 2 floors per day. So rather than 1 floor every 2 days, they were able to complete the inspection by doing 2 floors per day. And it was a huge benefit to the team and saved a lot of time and money.
Now, here's a question that some of the listeners that may be tuning into our show may be wondering. They may have a small construction management operation like ours. They may own a general contracting firm. For some of those firms that are not as technologically savvy, other than contacting us directly, what are some key advice that you would offer to them as a starting point, perhaps, that might be of value?
I always think it's good to listen to your employees who may be enthusiastic about this technology to begin with. Those are the folks who will find a way to make this work. It is not expensive. The barrier to entry to this is extremely low. So for example, you need a $400 360 camera, like an Insta360 camera. And you can typically do a pilot with these tools like Struction Site, for example, offers free trial periods for 45 days. So if you simply buy a camera, and by the way, typically there's a return policy, right? So get the camera, get set up with a pilot period or a trial period with your provider, Struction Site or Hollow Builder or Reconstruct are 3 options right off the bat that you can consider. And then give it a try on a project that is an ideal project. And that's my advice. And I think that you'll quickly find whether the value is there or not. And by empowering the employees who are already enthusiastic about it, you're basically enabling or you're fostering an environment where innovation can occur.
Now, as I'm listening to you, I totally understand the benefits of using this 360 progress monitoring during the construction progress. In your mind, what do you think is the ultimate benefit down the road once the construction is complete, the use of a technology like this?
I think that ultimately our industry is limited by the fact that most built environments, buildings, and it can be horizontal or vertical construction, is a challenge whenever you go to repair or alter those built environments. And what I mean is that as you look around you, do you know what is behind the walls? Do you know what is above the ceiling or below the floor? And typically we don't. And what happens in our industry is that when we start a repair or alteration project, there's a survey or a field site verification. There's investigative testing where some holes will be punched through the wall and you're trying to look at what's behind there. And even though you may spend many months and hundreds of thousands of dollars doing this type of work on a large project, a large repair or alteration, you still end up running into, quote, unforeseen conditions where you might have hit a pipe or a power line or some other condition that is, quote, unforeseen. And I think that's really the opportunity here. If during construction progress, you are capturing the conditions repeatedly every day, every week, or what have you, and you make sure that before close-in of surfaces, you take that last picture. That last picture is really your as-built. And for example, if we took all of the pictures before close-in of all of the drywall in all of the walls of the building, we essentially have the ability to have this X-ray vision and to know exactly what's there. So what's happening is in our industry, if we were to try to get accurate as-builts, we first need to rely on the fact that someone needs to draw those lines and draw that model or as-built drawing. Now we can simply capture the picture, and a picture is very much reliable and something that doesn't depend on someone's interpretation or drawing of the condition. So essentially, one way to think about it is that if we took a picture of all of the walls before drywall was closing in the conditions, then at minimum, the value of this technology would be what it would cost to take down all that drywall before your next repair and alteration project. But in fact, it's much, much larger because during operations and maintenance, anytime that there's any situation behind a closed surface, you can use this technology to essentially see what's there. And so I think that the cost of our, rent and the cost per square foot per building is very much inflated by the fact that we don't know what's there. And if we properly plan to capture these pictures and flow them into a solution at the end, a digital twin type solution, or a BIM for facilities management, or some type of solution where your computerized maintenance management system has this data, if the owners are thoughtful about it, they can potentially significantly reduce the cost of their portfolio.
Wow, that's a lot to unpack here, and really appreciate you being here today. Digital twin facilities management, maybe that's something that we may tackle at our next episode. For all the listeners that are listening, please, if that's something that you are interested in, please provide us any feedback. And please, if you like what you're hearing, please hit the subscribe button below. And until next time, that's it for us.